You and I were kind of talking just before we kind of enjoyed ourselves a little session here.
Partook.
Not sure what happened.
Partook.
Is there a fire in here? Definitely a fire. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a fire. If you are listening to this on any audio platform, we smoked a lot of weed. Actually, I don't know if I can say that. We might have that edited out if you're watching.
Yeah.
But you and I were kind of talking about this, like good herb, bad herb, high THC, low THC, and we were like, well, is it all about the THC? And you were like, well, no. And that kind of brought us to this kind of topic. Is it all about the THC?
It's not even anywhere close. I mean, that is the number that is most asked in the legal retail space. I mean, and in legacy market as well too, right? Like, what percentages are you hitting, and is it a name I know of strain? You know, like that type of thing. Like, it's not. There's not much nuance past. You know, are you hitting close to the 30% mark or above? That's all that really a lot of people seem to like care about, especially just as a baseline consumer, a more seasoned, educated buyer, especially in this market, knowing that they have access to more information. And information's there for a reason. You know, it's not just for fun. It's not even a requirement, actually. More companies are electing to start to give you your terpene profiles and such because it's beneficial to you as a consumer.
That's right.
Because those things do different things. They taste differently. And it's to a point where it's like, if you are a wine drinker and you don't like something dry and you keep buying dry wine, you're not going to like wine, right? There's different options, and that's how it is here. The information's there. It's really baseline, not that scary. There's a lot and like way too much. Like, not everybody needs to know exactly how their iPhone works, but
Right.
they should like at least have an understanding. Yeah, how to make a phone call, text.
Know how they're treating their workforce, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then yet still make the blatant decision or ignorant decision to use.
Right, so good.
Yeah, as I say, as an iPhone user.
Yeah.
No, you and I come from a very different background when it comes to understanding the profiles of the plant, understanding, the flower, just the general makeup of this plant as a whole, even because it's like I see the plant at the beginning stages. I see it as a plant, and you see it as a medicine, as a
refined product,
as a product.
Yeah, a refined retail product,
and
in many different forms.
I have taken the entire entourage of cannabinoids into effect, or into the question, or into consideration when I'm trying to choose a good cultivar, because like I want something very pleasant to the nose. I want something that's going to help me sleep. I want something that's going to be something that's going to stir conversation. And these are all things that occur that are based on things aside from THC.
Right.
And
that's not even that part of the plant that's giving it those effects.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Right. So it's like, I much more prefer those effects or not much prefer, I enjoy those as much.
Yeah.
And as a grower, I'm trying to find those phenotypes, those attributes as I grow. And it's always been important to me. There's nothing more tantalizing than opening up your tent or the door to your room and just hit with those flavors, those cannabinoids, those terpenes, just smoke you in the face. Yeah. That's something that someone who's never grown, that's only purchased from a dispensary, will never understand. They'll never get that. So when they only have two options, now it is getting better. You kind of said that in regards to it. You're not just seeing the THC anymore and CBD. You're seeing other acronyms on there now. You're starting to see a terpene profile kind of displayed on these containers now. That was not how it was at the beginning. People are asking questions now, which is fantastic, because I think, at the very beginning of the legalization phase, it's like Karen and Mark only had two options: high THC, low THC. And they're trying to figure out, well, how come when I try a high THC, sometimes this works better for me? How come when I try a low THC, it's the same effect as a high THC? How come when I try a low THC, it's better than the high THC?
Right.
What's going on here?
Right.
These are both 20% THC, but I'm getting crazy effects from this one, but not this one. So it's like people started to ask questions. And then they were like, well, it's actually coming from other factors. So that's why I feel like it's now starting to change. When you're at the store, like, are people asking about terpenes?
It's a combination of like people are asking. They're asking, but they don't know what they're asking about.
Fair. Yep.
They're asking the questions that lead to that, but they don't particularly know that that's what they're looking for in terms of information. But they want to know, and I think that a lot of shops, the attention is shifted there, and because the level of competition has gotten higher, both in the retail space and in the grow space, like there's just a lot of really good stuff. And then now, how are you differentiating between the good stuff, right? Now you got to like really start to break it down, and the people that are looking for these either higher end products are wanting to be more pointed in flavor profiles and effects. So you really got to understand what part of the plant's doing that. But the other thing is that it's very much like I used to sell TVs, like LCDs and plasmas were just coming in when I was doing that as a younger man. And there was so much tech there that like most people had no care to know. And you didn't need to tell most people most of the specs and information about it. It was the things that affected them and what they were going to actually get to perceive and enjoy. That was the stuff that was like easier to talk about, to like help them understand this new TV when their last one was giant and it was, a CRT or what have you. And you had to like find a way to like, this is the information that really matters to you. The rest of it is just a wash. And there's so much about that, like you buy a car, how much of a breakdown do you actually get of the way this vehicle works from your salesman? Because it doesn't matter, right? You don't really need that information.
How good is it on gas?
Yeah, exactly. Comfort level, trim level. Was the warranty look like? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Warranty.
Yeah, what do I look like? Yep. Yeah, the warranty, that's already got too far. I'm already being responsible.
Damn, it look good.
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
Sold.
That's
kind of
hard.
And that's where it's like having a good quality salesman or a good salesperson, have you, and at the as a bud tender is really important.
Yeah,
really important, because it's like you sample all your products. Yes. That's, you have to, man.
Yeah,
you have to.
It's one of the unfortunate fun parts about the job.
Dang it.
Yeah. But it totally changes the conversation when you're trying to. A lot of times people don't have the vocabulary, they don't understand. A lot of this is really new information.
For sure.
I am relearning my relationship with the plant through my journey into the legal industry. There's so many things that I just understood as like, this is just what it was part of smoking weed, and there was so much randomness to it and everything. And then it was just like, yeah, because I'm always buying random stuff and depending who I could get it for and availability and all that stuff. And now you can be so much more pointed, and then with that you can get repeated effects and start to understand these things. Like I never ever thought high CBD products were going to be a thing that I would ever enjoy, based off of my very limited understanding at the time. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, like 2-to-1s or 1-to-1 ratio stuff. Like this is the a great, during the day you're like out at a barbecue or something thing and you need that like slight stress relief, but you don't want to feel like you're stoned because you're in public or whatever, but you still want that anxiety remover. And like, what a wonderful thing. And I never would have tried it if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to understand my menu and understand like the guest decisions and stuff. And that's been another great part about it, is just really getting to find out the information. There's a new influx of information continuously, and I'm learning things all the time, definitely through a different lens than I've ever done. But a lot of it's just because you're like constantly getting feedback from customers. You're finding out what they're being asked about all the time, and like, for so many different reasons, and lifestyle things. And even after as long as I've had the place, I've just been like still surprised at the questions they get asked. Like you're looking for that? That's crazy. Like we don't have that. I'm sorry, but that's amazing that like, oh, there's a market for that little niche product.
Good
like
to see people asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. Because it just shows that there's like spillover from the different parts of the market, right? And that like people are looking for it, and then you'll see somebody inevitably fill the hole with availability and new stuff.
Yeah, it's so important to have somebody at the forefront of this that's passionate, enthusiastic, educated about what they're trying to get rid of, because there's nothing worse than it's like, I'm looking for something that's, good for sleep, and the first thing they take you to is the most expensive product. That's frustrating. And to me can't happen.
Yeah.
It can't happen because
you can skin a cat like a multiple, like there's so many ways you can do things, and you can hit those different price points. Even in the market, people talk about like the taxation. You can get some pretty good deals, and it also on top of the fact that like you're getting good consistent quality, and you're walking in that store and generally having access to it all the time. The crazy things are happening with supply chains and such, but like, and that's worth a lot. That's worth a lot in terms of being able to get that quality and being able to hit multiple different price points. And if you want to be real picky and have that quality, you can pay for it and get the good stuff. If you need to get 5 grams for $26, that's available to you too. And it's not going to be dry stuff. It's going to be excellent. So, and surprise you for the dollar, right? Like it might not be crazy, but it's like, you're like, what? This is a really good deal.
Yeah.
And
I've had that.
Yeah. Like it's another one of those things where you're like, huh. And that's just the fun part of it. And that's not like some crazy big corporation or anything like that. That's just like guys listening to the market, and getting, doing something about it, looking into like, how can we make this happen? How can we like deal with that person and help that type of guest and get them respectable product and things that they really care about, and are going to want to rebuy, right? You're not like, just buying that because like it's not just it's because this is all I have in my pocket. You're like willing to not buy something else and buy this because the quality's there. Like it's still, there's all hands and budgets are available in that regard, really.
Yeah, no, that's right. And you got to be able to meet to everybody. And I think it's because now that we're legal, you have more people asking questions. I feel like now you've got people that are completely removed from the industry that are like, well, like I said, they're like, well, I just had a high THC, but it didn't do anything for me. But this 12% really hit me. I think having more people having input on the system is key. I still get in my comment section. I was just reading someone who did one of my buddies that did a review, like a bud review, and it was coming in at 17% THC, but came in at 3.9 or like 3.4, 3.7% terpenes, which is fantastic, right? And the comment section was like 17% is mids though, and I'm like, wow, man, you're ignorant. You're ignorant, man.
Yeah.
Because I've simple enough. I've had a 12% THC do wonders for me.
But you're limiting yourself to an experience because of that.
You're limiting yourself to 3 letters, THC.
Like land races, for instance. There's an example of things that are generally lower in THC that have a much greater overall effect, and realistically, the effect that you're generally actually seeking. A local producer does an incredible job at Hindu Kush, and they're an outdoor grow as well too. It's just like a fantastic job. It's something that's generally not crazy high in THC, but when people, as soon as they start to describe, they're looking for that classic push effect, that relaxed feeling, that body high and all that stuff. And I'm like, just ignore the percentage. Stop asking about large THC. Yeah, just this, and they'll come back and buy it again because it's just like, yes, that's what you were looking for, right? It didn't mean there, but high terpene profile, really well grown, and just like a pointed quality strain, right? Like, there's different factors. It's not everything is the nuclear option. Really, the really well grown stuff that also reaches higher THCs, it's more of like a disco pizzazz topped on top of what are great effects of well-grown cannabis, right? Like, it's just, do you want the flash version of that? And then that's the high THC where you're like, boom, go watch Avatar. It's going to be great. But that's maybe not the everyday thing you're rocking. You know, everybody's a little different.
Yeah, and I'm one of those difference. And I think it comes down to a good quality bud tender. Like, as someone, like, because it's like, this is the forefront. This is the front where you're going to have people coming in that don't know. And they're going to say, well, why should I pay, you know, $7 a gram, $10 a gram for something that's 17% THC when there's something over here that's, you know, 25% THC for $4 a gram.
Right.
This is why a bud tender would say, hey, well, here's why.
Yeah.
And you know, and this is where it's like, I would also like to see, you know, a time where we get to a point where we have access to like lounges somewhere where it's like, when I come in
Consumption sites.
yeah, if I come into Black Tie Cannabis,
There's talks of that in this province.
it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I want to be able to come in here and be like, well, whether I just want to just come in here for free samples or not, that's besides the point. But the point is that I want to sample. I want to try this. I want to give it a shot. I want to see if, like, this stuff right here does it taste okay? Does it make my nose or my tongue go numb? You know, is it like, I want to know these things.
Well, and in our alcohol industry, we pay for billboards. We know the numbers on drinking and driving and everything, and we hand out samples inside of the alcohol. And there's lots of different situations. And, you know, I get that. And it's not about, like, we either have to pull it, right? If you want to get that hard lined on it, then that is so hypocritical. It's crazy. So you either have to pull back on that, or let's be realistic and be fair if we're making everybody gets to make an adult choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's one or the other. Like, it's crazy that, like, I understood the trepidation at the beginning, but inevitably this is going to move past that. Because it's just,
of course it has to. Do you find like people are asking about terpenes and stuff, but are still people still chasing the THC?
Yeah, it's still a thing. You know, there's a lot of things with the fact that you can kind of get a little bit of both these days, and things within a range. I think also customers are just getting more and more educated. So they're also starting to see that, like, between certain ranges of THC percentages, it's probably still pretty good, right? You know, like,
yeah, right. There's still some.
Nobody's picking over a couple of percent. So there's a lot of range of product availability that are hitting the 25 plus notes real well, and making people there. The other thing is too is like things like infused pre rolls, like, is a category that's grown quite a bit. And, then you're getting that increased amount. It makes it, concentrates in general are just kind of like inaccessible outside of vape carts. A lot of people just don't know how to deal with them. Right. And the concept of, like, buying some distillate and putting it on your pre-roll sounds super easy, but, like, it's not algebra and people can't figure it out.
Right. And imagine that
it's an extra step they don't want to take.
We were just looking at a Canagar or something. We were looking at it in a magazine.
Yeah. Those, like, doobie guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a nice wrap. I think it was a blunt wrap.
Yeah, with a glass filter, and
it had diamonds in it.
Yes.
Terpene infused diamond.
Right.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a nice little piece. Yeah, I would definitely toke on that, 100%. But that's just it. It's like, well, we were a few weeks ago. We tried some of that. What was that? Natural Earth. We had a few joints.
That Bayside. Yeah. Wonderful sativa. It's Miss Kim is the strain.
Miss Kim. That was cool. You know, the smells and the taste on that was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that's
good stuff.
Volumes to me.
Yeah. And that's like a 26, 27, I think that pack was. Yeah. In that range.
That was at
27? 26, 27%.
Okay, so high up there. So I always had this like this analogy as a grower that, like, the higher you try to produce THC, you compromise other cannabinoids, terpenes.
And these guys do what's called a sea of green. So they're only doing top coils, very short plants.
Yep.
And cola, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, I'm the one to talk about this. I've just seen it. But it's just like,
cool.
And live organic soil. They do the
that's why their stuff's considered top tier, man.
Yeah, like,
it's just dealing with the colas. That's where all the energy's sent, man. That's supposed to be your your creme de la creme.
They do it's an incredible job. The bud is just so, the quality difference of smoke is so different.
Who's that over? Adam?
Adam.
Yeah, Dana is their grower, and yeah,
have to have him on the
Net
show.
for us.
We'll have to have him on the show because
I'm gonna get
Adam
over here.
it was like some great smoke. I've always had great smoke, and I've always heard great things about them. And I think the reason is because it's more than just THC with them.
Right.
The whole experience. Like I said, I've only had a few.
It's like well developed. All the bottom notes there, everything's there. It's not just about that. They're doing great things with the THC percentages they're able to produce on top of the quantity. But that's why it's just like, these are worth it. The effects are there. This is the thing you're looking for.
Good.
Yeah,
Really good. Yep. It was really good. Yeah, I do see where we are. Like I do see a point where we are going to see a change, and it's already happening when you start to see like terpene profiles being listed, other cannabinoids are being listed. You know, people are starting to ask questions, but you know the problem is that the science is lacking. You know, it's like we can't even list what we don't even know.
And bartenders are really restricted to what they're actually allowed to talk about, because like an incredible amount of questions are medical, and like, you can't talk about nothing. Doesn't matter if it's cited research or anything. It really limits that. So you're just kind of pushing them in directions of like guests that are normally looking for that. So it's hard to get a little more pointed with it.
Well, I was just on my Twitterverse the other day, and they were saying that there was a report that came out, and they didn't name any of the producers or any of the stores that they were, or whatever. The labels had been over-exaggerated as much as like 50% in terms of the exaggeration on the numbers.
Right.
So
and there's definitely some of that
going
going
right numbers if you were looking for the right numbers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's something that that needs to be.
Those are
looked into.
those like hopeful regulatory loopholes that you'll see get cleaned up inevitably, just so that like we're getting a little bit more.
Could you imagine if like Jack Daniels put 40% on the bottle, but it was like 75%?
Yeah, or 10%.
Or 10.
You're gonna be upset either way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, either way. One way dead, the other way really upset. That would be a national outcry, a national tragedy or travesty.
Right.
But this happening here is just and it's got to be hard to measure this stuff too, man, because it's like, I know, like you said, it's like some places are growing just the colas. Well, the colas are going to be the better parts to sample. Well, what part of that plant is getting sampled versus what part of that plant are you getting sold? You know? So yeah, you definitely got to do a little homework, but
it's such a hard thing too, and I think that it's a little bit of, again, the bud tender thing, and hopefully going to a place where like they're active in the consumption of it, they have a good understanding, they're speaking to the guests a lot, and being able to like have an understanding of what the general public, it's not just about even you as an individual, because the effects can be so wide and how it's perceived and such, right? So
I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that like this was a race to it was a green rush, and if you had money you could get in, right? And in the first 2 years of legalization, 3 years of legalization, it was people that knew nothing about weed. They knew nothing how to grow it. They knew nothing about terpenes. They knew what gets them high. THC. Okay, we need that. And what are the things they're putting in those pillowcases? CBD. Okay, we need that too. You know what I mean? Put that in there. So make sure you get as much of those as you can.
There's so many cannabinoids, and we talk about those ones because those are the ones that most people know about.
Right.
And just the most research we've done, like the amount of CBN products that are low THC, and then like for a lot of people that are looking for, they're pass out capsules every night, and they're doing like, they used to do 10 milligrams of THC indica based strain, and then they're going to something that has like 2 milligrams of THC but has 10 of CBN, and some CBD as well too, and then they also don't feel as groggy in the morning because you're not like getting just stoned. Person that's never done weed before, right? You're just sleeping. It's just calming you, and you're just falling asleep. It's not a sleeping pill knocking you out.
Right.
It's allowing you to sleep, and that's like the thing that we keep seeing time and time again through my own experience, through like, I use my dad as the guinea pig for the sleeping stuff too, because he's always having problems. And like, they're same situation. At first, he was like, "Well, it did knock me out," and I was like, "Yeah, but how'd you wake out this morning?" He was like, "Well, I just like woke up. It was nice." And I was like, "Right."
Exactly.
It took away the grogginess as well too. Yeah. I'm like, you have to close your eyes. It's still your job.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's key though too. Like that's key, and I think CBN is going to be one of the most the most explosive in the next year, 2 years in terms of like aiding with sleep, and isolating it and maybe even removing it.
big companies are stripping it all down, trying to find uses because then they get to market it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And I get to like play with and try all these things, so it's like at least fun. You get to have some understanding of it, but it's exciting because you go, okay, under a controlled framework, and as long as all the pieces are hopefully working well enough, we've got a lot of money flowing into innovation.
Yeah.
For the purpose of monetization, right? They're trying to make money off of it, and it is what it is. But like, as consumers, we get access to like a ton of products, right? Like things we've always wanted are available at a walk-in. If you are the age majority in your areas, you should be,
Yep.
right? So it's just such an exciting time to have that, and then know that we're in the infancy of this, and just all this stuff is going to get better. Everything's going to be, done better. We're not going to get worse at any of this. It's just going to get better. And we're going to keep to refine all the little pieces of it.
Totally. And it already has. Like, look at what we've done to THC. Look at how we've isolated it. We've turned it into
concentrates. Like, look at that market.
Exactly.
How we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look at edibles. And, it's just, it's I can't wait to see what's going to happen with everything else. It's not necessarily all going to be good. I'm not sure that those CBD curtains are really doing anything good for your living room. But who am I to say?
Yeah.
Who am I to say? I don't have CBD curtains.
Placebo works, man.
Yeah, it does. It's very effective, actually. But it's like we'll be able to weed it out. It's like that Delta 8 shit. You heard about that?
Yeah, like I've heard about it, but this is just.
It's another derivative that's extracted.
I just don't understand like how the difference, like how the high is different.
I don't get it either. I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, like I don't
see like
I'm obviously already inhaling it if it's in there.
Clearly.
So isolating it, what does it do in relatives? What does it do? Yeah.
Over the last couple thousand years, we've clearly figured out that THC is the most inebriating. Mm-hmm. So, if this other Delta 8 was that good, I think we would have found it. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I just don't. Doesn't make sense to me. There's a reason that we have all these cups and all these awards for THC.
Right.
There's cups out there that just award based on how high something tests. So, we've kind of done this to ourselves. The amount of competitions, the amount of awards, the amount of shows, so on and so forth that have just pushed more THC, more THC, more THC.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to chase something, like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The innovation, we've proved we're just going to keep doing it. How can we make more money out of this quicker? Yeah. How can we get more value out of it?
You're going to have to weed through the baloney first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's an industry there. But I'm glad to see that it is shifting away from THC, because as someone who grows my own, it makes sense that, more people would want to get to know the many variables of this plant that have such an incredible impact on you.
Yeah.
From having something that's going to make you, intoxicated, to something that's going to make you a little more creative, to maybe something that's going to make you possibly sleep a little bit better, to something that's going to make your pain feel a little less,
Right.
These are things that are really important. Really important.
Yeah.
They all have so much more to do with this plant than just THC. And personally, I can't wait for more research. I think now that we have more access to people now that we have more people that have access to...
There's so many big corporations with big dollars that are like...
We're going to see.
Yeah.
We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what the good is, what the bad is, what's the preferred methods, what is the best cannabinoids. And I'm excited for that. And that's what this show's all about, man. We're going to follow. We're going to dive into the science and try to figure it out, what makes this plant great. What makes it great for us, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's though, like, what the market wants out of this, and the fact that, like, all these auxiliary things, they're, still not the big portions of it, but they're available to the new guests as well, that are like more barrier breaking, like the beverages and the edibles and all those things. Just it's allowing you to get it to somebody that's doesn't want to smoke, doesn't want to vape it, doesn't right, like, doesn't want to go with any of those parts of it. It's like, that's fine. There's still so many great ways you can enjoy this. It doesn't matter with bath bombs, like yeah, exactly. Like,
you name it.
There's a ton of different ways you can have this be part of your life, and that it doesn't have to be that. And that's the part that's really cool.
No, exactly. Yeah. A multitude of applications.
Yeah.
Multitude of applications.
Yeah.
And
and that there's interest in it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, most of them, you think of the application, they're not even THC. Like, the applications that you think are medical aren't even THC in most cases.
Right.
It's
at all.
There's other, like this. I'm just thinking in particular. It's like fighters in particular that are, using CBD to decrease the inflammation.
Yeah, anti-inflammatory, natural anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, there's just so many applications for this plant. It's incredible that it's so persecuted or prosecuted and prohibited still. Nuts. But with time comes more research, right?
Yeah. Now the money's involved.
Exactly.
So it's I mean, the money was always involved, but the money wasn't paying for scientific research.
Right. Now we need it to be the right money involved.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the key.
And then it'll move farther. It's once the right money's involved, got the right people behind this, that's where we'll see that transition from like that corporate kind of takeover to like the grassroots cultural takeover of this industry. And it needs to happen. There needs to be a mix of cultural aspects and a mix of business. We need the money to get there, but we need the wherewithal to get us there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when we'll be able to, explore this plant to its fullest. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, like I see the market even continuing to evolve, where we're already starting to get into like larger purchase size. Like, so eighths was like the predominant size for the longest, 3.5 grams. And now getting to that 714, and the ounces increasing, and that's people getting more comfortable in the purchase, learning what they like, and wanting to start getting that deal by buying more, right? Like, that's just a market growing and maturing, getting comfortable in what they're buying every day, right?
Yep.
And then wanting to like, okay, now how do we like optimize this for their day-to-day life? And that's kind of fun, just to like see that through purchase patterns.
For sure.
Yeah.
You're seeing it firsthand.
Right. Yeah.
Dispensary owner. Not only are you a bud tender, but dispensary owner as well. So you're seeing it firsthand, this evolution or education of the public as they kind of transcend into the world of cannabinoids and terpenes and flavonoids. Flavonoids. Yeah. I don't know if they're all cannabinoids.
How the actual like abundant tower?
Yeah. What are they all called? Are they all cannabinoids, or is it flavonoids, terpenes? Are they just all in there as one? Because if not, it sounds better having different ones.
This is gonna take a pre-Google.
Yeah. Google, we need.
Yeah. No, that one I don't know.
But with any and all questions, it's like we pass a question to you guys. What do you think when it comes to product? Are we stuck on THC? Will we get over it? I think generally speaking, when you speak to most people, they understand that like there's more to it, but there's nowhere to read about it. Like, you're going into a dispensary, you're just not getting presented with that information.
Right.
It is growing. Right. It is growing. It's just you're not there yet, right? So yeah, I'm curious. Is it more than THC for you, or are you just a THC in and quit? Curious to hear from you guys. We have the website. Don't forget to check us out. Highly Motivated Productions.ca.
That's it. Yeah.
Got it. And you can follow us on Twitter. You'll see the links below, right below us. Don't forget to check us out. If there's anything that you guys want to talk about in regards to conversation, guests, you guys name it, whether it's in the Canadian space, the international space, this is the cannabis space. This is Highly Motivated.
Love.
We'll see you guys next week.